4 years ago, I was with a group of friends and we were talking, and like normal, around the end of the conversation, I'm inspiring them, I'm motivating them, I'm telling them that anything is possible. Just look at my life. You guys know my story. We can do this. You know, your life, whatever it is you believe in. And by the end of the conversation, one of my friends came to me and was like, one day you should do a TED Talk. And I smiled, and embarrassingly enough, I had no idea what a TED Talk was, although they've been around since 2006. So I ended up going home and I did a deep dive. What is a TED Talk? And if any of you guys actually watch TED Talks, you know that 1 hour can turn into 6, and that's exactly what happened. I went into a deep dive, and 6 hours later, after being inspired, learning about ADHD and NASA and everything else in between, I said, wow, I should do a TED Talk. I remember getting in the mirror and I said, my name is Nora, and welcome to my TED Talk. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about today, the art of belief. How did this destiny become what it was? So, growing up as a child, I was extremely shy. You wouldn't know that now if you know me, but I talk a lot. But I was extremely shy. I didn't have a voice. I grew up in poverty. I grew up in a really small town, and it wasn't much around me. But I was a dreamer. I was a little kid that had these big dreams, these bold ideas, but I didn't know one person in my life that dreamed. It seems as if whatever they were dealt with, whatever cards that they got, that is what they did. And as for me, it never made sense. It was like, I don't like this. There has to be something different. So my way of escape was art. I love to paint. I love to draw. I love to find rocks and do things with them and just create. And one day, I never spoke my dream out loud ever. One day, in 3rd grade, the first day of school, my teacher got up there. It was her first time teaching. And she looked like me. It was the first time I had a teacher, a black woman teacher that looked like me. And she got up and she said, my dream as a little child was to become a teacher. And that is something that I wanted to do. And today I get to live that dream. And I was so excited because for the first time in my life, I've met a dreamer. The first time in my life, I found someone that inspired me. Someone that looked like me, someone who was like me. And I remember one day I went to my teacher and I said, one day I want to be an artist. And she looked at me with tears in her eyes. She grabbed my face and she said, Ashley, you are one of the most brilliant students I have ever met in my life. You are so intelligent. You are so amazing. Something about you is special. You're different. But do you know any black women artists? I'm 8. I'm like, no. She said, that's a hobby. But you have the potential. You could be a scientist. You could be anything in this world with your brain. If you just go to college, you can get your family out of poverty and you can do that thing. You can do it. So in that moment, I don't like to say that my dream died, because look at me now, right? But my dream was deferred because I looked up to her and I was inspired by her. I took on her belief for me. That became my reality. From that moment on, I said, yeah, art is a hobby. I'm going to be a chemist. And that's what I did. I went to college. I got multiple degrees. I worked extremely hard. And shortly after, I became an analytical chemist. And people would be so amazed, what do you do? No, I'm a chemist. I had a lot of money, but I wasn't happy. And I didn't understand why, because I worked so hard to get there. I worked so hard. My identity was me being intellectual. My identity was this thing, and it's like, I finally did it. Why are you not satisfied? And then I had 2 daughters. And one day, they were sitting there and they were playing. One of them had this doctor outfit on, and she was taking my blood pressure and my temperature, and the other one had airplanes, and she was flying planes, and I saw myself, the little me, the me that dreamed, the me that felt like I could do anything, the artist. And I know one thing as a parent, kids don't necessarily go by what you say. They watch what you do. And I said, how can I tell them that any dream is possible if I'm not living mine? And I made up in that moment, I was gonna live my dream. I knew in that moment that I believed that I could do this. So I called my best friend and I said, I'm about to quit my job tomorrow. She was like, are you okay? Something's wrong? Do we need to talk? Let's talk this out. What's going on? And I told her, I said, my whole life I wanted to be an artist. I want to do this. She said, well, what's the plan? There is no plan. I'm going to do this because I believe that I can, and my daughters deserve to see this. I have to be the person that I always wanted for me. I have to do this. And if I fail, I fail. But I have to try. And she said, well, what if it doesn't work out? And something clicked in my mind. I knew that I was never, ever, ever going to let anybody else project their fears onto me. I did that in 3rd grade, and I promised I would never do it again. So I told her, what if it does work out? What if it works out better than you could ever imagine? And 5 years later, I have been in multiple museums. I have won awards. I have traveled the world. I have created murals out of the country. And I can say I am a successful Black woman visual artist today. And that was my dream. But what was it that got me from that space of doubt to the place of destiny? How did I get here? So I quit my job and was super delusional in my faith. I remember around this time, it was when the law of attraction came out. I'm pretty sure everyone in here have heard about manifesting, law of attraction. And I said, I'm a nerd, I'm a scientist. I'm gonna look into this. Is there any validity into this? And I kept looking. I started doing my vision board. I started saying, I can do this. My name is Nora. This is my TED Talk. I started saying the things. I started repeating it, and nothing changed. Nothing happened. So I did a deeper dive. And I said, well, what does Einstein have to say about this? And this is a quote. The truth behind manifestation. You must understand that it is the frequency of energy that you are generating, that you create from, not the words that you use. Words are just words, but it is the frequency of the energy. So I'm like, frequency, what? Okay. And I did an even deeper dive. And then I found this study. It was called Spain method, which is the scale of positive and negative emotion. It's a conceptual scale developed to measure the intensity and frequency of your emotions. Joy, compassion, disappointment, disgust. And a lot of people, when they were doing these studies, they felt like, what has to be the highest frequency of a human being? And a lot of people said, it must be love, right? It has to be love. But it's not. the highest frequency that any human being could ever possess is authenticity. Being genuine in your truth. And once I grasped that, I knew the moment that I wanted to quit my job, I believed it with my whole heart. My words were just words, but when I believed it and didn't have an ounce of doubt, that's when things started to move for me. So one day, probably about a year ago, my oldest daughter, she was trying to do a handstand. She was trying so hard. And she wants to be a gymnast. But we have so much packed up in our schedules, we've never, ever took her to a class. So she gets on YouTube. And this particular day, she was like, I'm gonna do a handstand. And she just kept trying while me and my youngest daughter were trying to watch TV. She kept trying and getting in the way. And my youngest daughter got extremely annoyed. She said, Journey, stop. You can't do it. And my daughter looked at her and said, my mother is actually Nora, and I can do anything. And I got chills. I was like, where is this going? And she looks at me, and then she does the handstand. And not only does she does the handstand, she holds it for 5 seconds and then starts walking. When she got done, I'm in tears. My youngest had to shut up. She just was like, okay, all right, you did it. But for me, everything in my life clicked in that moment. You know, when someone talks to you or you see a story that's touching and your body get these goosebumps on it, that's authenticity. That's a frequency that you're feeling because something, this is the truth in it. I felt the authenticity. She believed with her whole heart because my mother, I've seen her from the beginning. She did the hard thing. She didn't quit. Everything that she said she was going to do, she did. And if that's my mother, I can too. And she did. And it was exceptional. She did better than what she could. So what did I take from that? One, your words don't have power unless you truly believe. You have to believe in this thing. Can't have doubt. And I know that's scary as humans because fear is a part of, it is the frequency that we give out sometimes. But you have to believe that this thing, I didn't see a Black woman visual artist, but even though I didn't see it, I saw myself in that. And that's what I wanted to be, and that's what I became. I had to stop focusing on the how and just focus on the thing, the what of it all. I want to be an artist. I don't know how I'm going to get there. My friend, how are you? I don't know. But I know that this thing is what I want. I focused on becoming an artist, and now I am. I didn't know how I was going to one day give a TED Talk, but I knew that one day I would. And now I would like to stand here and proudly say, my name is Ashley Nora, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk.